This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
This is your WLAK Daily News Roundup for Lake Air, 107.5 FM and 1260 AM in Amory.
For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly. The Rice Lake Area School District Board of Education has voted to approve offering esports at the high school and middle school. The approval will allow students involved in the clubs to set up activity accounts and take part in competitions with teams from other schools. The teams will begin their 7-week seasons in February with practices and competitions. District officials say students will need to bring their own equipment to start, but they hope the clubs will be popular enough to allow them to supply that equipment in the future. A nationwide arrest warrant has been issued for an Exeland man allegedly involved in a standoff with law enforcement officers in Sawyer County. 42-year-old Jason Arnold was scheduled to appear in court earlier this week to answer the charges against him, which include recklessly endangering safety, reckless use of a firearm, and failure to comply with the officers' attempts to take him into custody. During the October 3rd incident on North Elm Park Drive in Exeland, Arnold allegedly fired more than 20 rifle shots at 2 armored law enforcement vehicles. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources will be hosting a series of career fairs across the state over the next few weeks. According to a press release, residents who attend the career fairs will be able to ask DNR officials questions about the career field and learn how to apply online when postings become available. The first event will be held in Eau Claire on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., with more events in Oshkosh, Milwaukee, Fitchburg, and Woodruff in the following weeks. More information on the fairs is available on the DNR website. On Thursday, the Wisconsin Supreme Court heard arguments over the Republican-controlled Joint Committee for Review of Administrative Rules' efforts to block a ban on conversion therapy in the state. The lawsuit questions whether the committee's rejection of the Department of Safety and Professional Services ban was beyond the scope of their power. The eventual ruling will also impact blocks by the committee on various other state regulations implemented by Governor Tony Evers. The ruling could take months to be announced. A siren man accused of stealing a vehicle after being escorted out of a Social Security office in Rice Lake entered not guilty pleas to 3 charges. 28-year-old Levi Jacobson was charged with operating a vehicle without the owner's consent, operating a motor vehicle with a revoked license, and possession of THC. According to court documents, Rice Lake police officers were responding to a complaint from employees at the Social Security office when he allegedly took the vehicle. If convicted, he could face up to 3.5 years in prison. The Washburn City Council has selected a plan for the future of Hillside Park after receiving input from community members. At their last meeting, the City Council decided to follow the plan most recommended by residents at their January 13th meeting, which will include renovating the existing tennis courts, adding a picnic pavilion, parking, and an ADA-accessible walkway, and improving the playground and basketball court. One of the other plans called for the construction of a multi-use court, which residents expressed maintenance concerns with. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services is encouraging homeowners and schools to test their properties for radon this month in honor of National Radon Action Month. Radon is one of the leading causes of lung cancer in non-smokers and is a naturally occurring, colorless, and odorless gas. Health officials estimate 1 in 10 homes in the state have radon levels above EPA standards. DHS officials are also reminding residents that their local Radon Information Center may be offering reduced-cost test kits throughout January. The 5th annual Sink the Kiwanis Can contest is officially underway in Rice Lake. The yearly contest features an 8-foot metal can off the shore near the Moose Lodge and asks residents to choose when the can will sink into the water. A number of cameras with clocks have been placed around the area to make sure residents can see exactly when the oversized can sinks. Entries for the contest must be submitted by March 15th, and the 3 closest guesses will win a cash prize. The winners will be announced a few days after the sinking. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services is reminding residents to get vaccinated against respiratory viruses after announcing the first pediatric influenza-associated death in the state for the 2024-2025 season. According to a press release, cases of respiratory viruses like RSV and the flu are high across the state this winter, and health officials are encouraging everyone 6 months and older to get vaccinated against the highly contagious diseases. Vaccination can help prevent the spread of the illness and reduce the severity of symptoms if infected. As the legislature's Republican-controlled Joint Finance Committee continues to hold $50 million allocated for mandating reading changes in schools, officials say the money could end up added to Wisconsin's budget surplus. Act 20, the law mandating the change in how students are taught to read by switching to a phonics-based model, was passed in the summer of 2023. Officials now say if the funding isn't released by June 30th, it will be put into the surplus. Some Republican lawmakers say the Department of Public Instruction can't be trusted to spend it. For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly.
The Packers fire a coach. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports NFL. Although the Packers' defense improved the past year, there's been criticism they didn't put enough pressure on quarterbacks. Defensive line coach Jason Rebovich fired after 3 years in Green Bay. Meanwhile, defensive back Jair Alexander has missed nearly half the games the past 2 seasons due to injury. GM Brian Gutekunst asked, will Jair be back?
We're at the beginning stages of just kind of gathering information as a whole, before we start looking at next year and how we're going to lay this thing out.
And Bob Uecker has died after a 2-year battle with lung cancer. Uecker would have been 91 next Saturday.
He beat pancreatic cancer, which nobody beats. But he had another cancer now, and he did the job right to the end, which is extraordinary. And I kept trying to tell him to slow down, Kurt. There were days he would go have radiation treatment, then come to the ballpark and broadcast the game. It's unbelievable.
That's Brewers owner Mark Antanasio with Sports on Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Stand-up comic Bill Burr shared opinions on the catastrophic LA fires during an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, like only Bill Burr can. After saying he was tired of people on the internet sitting at home in their underwear suddenly becoming fire experts, Burr attacked insurance companies, saying they will keep the people's premiums and give themselves bonuses, insinuating that they are the actual looters. John Cena's likability is off the charts with John Cena fans. The sometime actor, sometime wrestler will host a new talk series. Variety reports that Cena will host a 4-episode talker called What Drives You and will interview guests like Logan Paul, Jelly Roll, and Travis Barker and their favorite cars. This is a really original idea that was even more original when Jerry Seinfeld came up with it. What Drives You will air January 21st on the Roku channel. Malcolm in the Middle is putting the band back together. The crazy popular show that premiered in 2000 is ready for a reboot. Bryan Cranston and Jane Kasmerick will return, as well as series creator and head writer Linwood Boomer. Frankie Muniz also returns as Malcolm, who is now almost 40. During the show's 151-episode run, it pulled 33 Emmy nominations. Disney announced they will make 4 episodes to start. In Oh My Gosh, it's been a few weeks since Taylor Swift has made news. She is being a supportive girlfriend. Travis Kelce has decided to continue his NFL career despite falling stat lines, and Taylor Swift says she fully supports his decision. That's the story. It's not much, folks, but a little Taylor Swift news is less depressing than other news happening around the world. Rumors are flying again that The Goonies will have a sequel 40 years after its initial release. The cast has been back and forth on said rumors, which were also in the news last September. The original Goonies said they had heard nothing concrete in regard to a remake or sequel. The Goonies follows a group of kids in a seaside town in Oregon who try to prevent developers from taking over their neighborhood. Not sure if they will have the same mission 40 years later in the remake, but they will certainly be less cute. Sticking with long overdue 1980s sequels, the Gremlins franchise will have a new chapter. Deadline.com says Warner Brothers has confirmed there will be a new film. Christopher Columbus, director of the original Gremlins, is on board, but it is unclear in what capacity. Fun fact, it was due to some of the violent scenes in Gremlins that Hollywood created the PG-13 rating. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mostly cloudy and windy, but it will be warmer today with highs in the upper 30s to near 40. We could catch a little bit of light rain, maybe a sprinkle or a flurry here by later this afternoon. Tonight, it's going to get much colder. It'll be windy in the single digits tomorrow. Partly cloudy, windy with a high near 10. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Temperature now 30.
That's your WLAK Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at lakeair.radio. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.